Okay, so for today's portfolio review, we have Jazz, uh, and she's asking. She asked for a review of her older image, and she said, "Hi, so this Ghost in the Shell piece. She's also British, so maybe I should do her voice. Oi, so this Ghost in the Shell piece." um, Okay, so the background I just bashed together quickly, but I'm most concerned with the character. Oh yeah, the background is really blurry. Something is off slash missing. This piece seems weaker next to my other recent pieces, which I'm not sure what I need to do to improve it. Maybe the rendering is bad. I'm not. It's not the rendering. I can tell you right now, it's not the rendering. I'm not sure. Pepe hands. That's Australian. I don't know any. Oi, mate. E fucking. Okay. Um. Okay, let me reread. Something is off. This piece seems weaker next to my other recent pieces, and I'm unsure what I need to do to improve it. Maybe it's the rendering. I remember seeing your latest work, and it's definitely. I mean, okay. So the first thing you need to understand is that uh you're gonna have good images and bad images. It's just part of, you know, getting better. The main issues that I'm finding are anatomy and proportion related. There's gonna be some other things I'll mention, but that's one of the first things that stands out is proportions. So for example, the thickness of the arms. I also see that this one is a lot I know, maybe it doesn't feel finished. The head feels disconnected from the body in both color and I mean, I guess render wise too, but proportion wise, the neck seems like omega thick. The shoulders to chest ratio seem to be a bit it's like it's not that maybe a body proportion like this doesn't exist, but if she feels a little squashed kind of thing. Like there would not be enough space for like her organs. I don't know how to explain. Feels like, for example, the rib cage feels extremely big, which can be okay. But when you make a rib cage big, you need to make the shoulders big as well, because everything like expands or grows in sort of like relation to each other. Of course, there's enough body variety in the human body where you can get away with a couple of things on and off, but there's that. I would say that like the pose, again, the proportion thing is just a fundamental issue. I'd say the next important thing is storytelling. I feel like your other images, maybe you focused a little bit more on storytelling. This one is a bit more like a poster, or I know you're trying to be a bit more like marketing oriented kind of image, where there should be like some letters around or some like in the empty space. Maybe they could help. Like it feels empty, and I will say that out of all the images, this one feels like a shell. Get it? Because it goes in the shell. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. But but no, I mean I do mean what I say. I it feels like she's a bit like emotionless. I feel like your other characters did have more character. And actually the best thing about this image is the rendering. I'd like to see maybe a different angle instead of like okay, so usually front views tend to be a little boring to look at. And your pose, the gesture, I like that she's like reaching out with a gun or whatever, but it's not making much sense. Is what I'd like you to think about. Also, gesture wise, if she's raising her arm, you could benefit from having the shoulder more. Let me grab here. like the shoulder would be more tilted, and then you could maybe do the same with sort of like the hips, and then one leg could maybe like go up, you know. Just give it, whoa, just give a bit of variety to the pose. If you are going to have a front view, try to make the pose interesting, because right now, like as a viewer, I'm not even like looking at it from a critical point of view. It's just rendering. um like, why is you ask yourself, why is the hand next to the face? um I don't know, it would be nice to have some more sort of variety, or maybe she's not like, if she's not sitting like this, we could have a different pose that would be a bit more interesting. You need to care from a refinement point of view. There's a few issues here with the arm. It just looks, it looks like you didn't finish the image compared to your other ones. Like there's all these jagged areas, and again, as I mentioned earlier on, the face, especially the face saturation, doesn't really match with the body. Only kind of like the arm here. It feels like this arm and this face relate to each other, from a color point of view and saturation. Everything else seems to be quite monotone, and like gray as well. You could benefit from some colors. Ashley in chat was saying she's supposed to live in Neon Tokyo. I feel like you could take that and benefit from some cool light. I mean, you're just trying to make the image more interesting to look at, right? You could have some like rim light or whatever. Usually that's like an easy way out, you know, but you could have something that could enhance what the whole movie, or the place of the movie is about, which is, you know, just neon lights everywhere. So you could benefit from that. What else? Yeah, I feel like her proportions of the face, again, I'm not sure if you're trying to go with the actual character design, or you're trying to give your own take. Maybe both, but I do feel like her nose is a little too big in relation to her eyes and mouth. In fact, so when you're characterizing a face, when you're trying to like come up with the composition of a face, you gotta well, you don't have to, but I would suggest you to pick one element on the face that stands out the most. Oftentimes it's the eyes, but it could be, well, again, right now it feels like it's the nose out of everything. So you want one element on the face to really, really, really stand out in size, shape, contrast, and all that. That'll help. That would help your character's facial features. Normally, the nose is not something to go for, just because it's kind of it's not that you can't, but it's a little difficult to make like big noses. Sort of like, there's one character in particular where I think that big nose is definitely a beauty point of, or an interesting, or yeah, an interesting / beauty point of interest in the face. And it's the chat, help me out here, Breath of the Wild. There's the big schnauzer heroine. Who am I talking about? She has red hair. Fuck, I know her name. They live in the sands. What is it called? What is it called? The character. She has like a big schnoz. Never played it. Here, I now I need to go and see this. Breath of the. Is it Meredith? Meredith. Breath of the Wild. What? No, it's not. Gyarados in general, most of them have it, but specifically her. Wait, Breath of the Wild heroes. Sorry, I'm losing frames. It's because I'm... Yeah, it's because I'm Googling shit. Here, the champions. Urbosa. Go check Urbosa. She specifically has a really, really pretty schnauzer. And it's gigantic on her face, but it's she like the artist did it in a way that it actually helps. Google search was doing tests. My internet is absolute trash, sir. So what I mean is that unless you're able to pull that off, noses tend to be the one feature people try to like sort of you know, you definitely are more shy to like make a nose being the focal point as when they're big. So that's the main reason why I would suggest making the nose smaller. However, I don't want to say that you can't make a pretty character with a big schnauzer. You know, her jaw. Fuck.
An anonymous user gifted a tier 1 sub to Stir.
Why? Why did you have to gift it to him? God damn it, anonymous. Thank you. Welcome back, Stir. Anonymous, you beautiful human bee. Thank you. You're great. You're amazing. I'll get to you in a second. Let me just wrap up the critique. Okay, so there's a couple of like anatomy issues here. For example, if I were to, I think it's something you'll get good at as you keep going. Like the ear seems to like her jawline is like omega long here, right? I mean, at least it feels like, considering the pose. Also, another thing is that when you twist your head, look what happens to my neck. It's small things like that that can help a character feel more, I don't know, organic, real, or whatever, you know. Generally, where the joints, that's actually an overall critique that I see everywhere, and I tend to put focus on my own work too, which is where the limbs join. So, for example, the head, what connects the head to the torso is the neck, right? What connects like the arm to the torso is the shoulder. So all of the parts that connect limbs, I would put extra focus on, because it can be the division between something looking static and sort of like a statue to organic, and it feels natural and all that. So I would say that, you know, she's turning her head like this, so you see some fold in there. Again, I mentioned the thickness of the... It's actually maybe not so much the thickness of the neck as the thickness of her... What do you call these, traps? I don't know. I'm not an artist, so I don't know the name of muscles. But I feel like this is a little misplaced. Yeah, so there's a couple of broken things, and I think that's the main issue why you feel like this image might be weaker than your others, because I've seen your other images, and I think there was definitely more things that you did well, but it's fine. I mean, there's good images and there's bad ones. Everyone has them, myself included. And correct, you're an art. I don't think I am. Where did he get that sexy ass? So I think that pretty much concludes it. Your rendering, I actually, I'll be honest with you, I think you're focusing too much on rendering, which is a trap. It's a very common trap. I've done it. I mean, I still do it if I'm not careful. I still focus a lot on it. It's a bad habit to break off, but I would definitely focus more on drawing, and gestures. And I think you could fix most of your issues. And gestures go hand to hand with storytelling. So yeah. So that concludes this image review. If you're a sub, don't forget you can post your portfolio/images in the portfolio review room on Discord. Join Discord if you haven't. And yeah, on to the